Most people throw away one of the most powerful plants on Earth every single season, not because they don't know it exists, because nobody ever told them what it actually does. Modern gardening forgot these plants on purpose. Seed companies don't sell them, nurseries don't stock them, and the plants sitting on those shelves right now, they need fertilizer every 2 weeks. They collapse in drought, and they produce a fraction of what these forgotten ones do. Today, I'm going to show you 13 ancient plants that grow like weeds, ask for almost nothing, and quietly outperform everything you've been sold. Stick around because number 7 hasn't been widely grown since the 1800s, and scientists just confirmed it produces 3 times more nutrition per square foot than any vegetable in your garden right now. And the bonus at the end will change how you plan every garden you ever make.
Number 13. Skirret, the root vegetable that fed medieval Europe for 400 years and disappeared almost overnight. Skirret was the most commonly grown root vegetable in European gardens from roughly 1300 to 1700. Every household grew it. Kings ate it. It's mentioned in the earliest gardening manuscripts in England and Germany. Then the potato arrived, and within a single generation, skirret was gone from almost every garden on Earth. Here's what that erasure cost us. Skirret produces clusters of thin white roots with a flavor somewhere between parsnip and sweet potato, but sweeter than both. It grows in partial shade where almost nothing else produces food. It multiplies itself every year without replanting, and it tolerates waterlogged soil that would rot every vegetable you currently grow. One plant, established in your garden this spring, will be feeding you for the next 15 years. You don't buy seeds again. You don't replant. You just harvest and divide.
Number 12, the groundnut, also called Hopniss, the plant that kept the Pilgrims alive and then got deliberately removed from American agriculture. This is not a peanut. The groundnut, Apios americana, is a climbing vine native to North America that produces protein-rich tubers underground in chains, like a string of edible pearls. Indigenous peoples across North America cultivated it for thousands of years. The Pilgrims survived their first brutal winter largely because Wampanoag people showed them groundnut patches. And then, within 200 years of European settlement, this plant was systematically replaced by European crops and essentially erased from American gardens. The nutrition profile is extraordinary. Groundnut tubers contain roughly 3 times more protein than a potato. The vine fixes nitrogen in the soil, which means it actually improves the ground it grows in rather than depleting it. It produces food in its first year and comes back stronger every year after. Researchers at Louisiana State University studied it in the 1980s as a potential commercial crop. Their conclusion? It was one of the most promising food plants in North America. Nothing happened with that research. Big agriculture had no interest in a plant that farmers could grow forever without buying new seeds.
Number 11. Orach, the plant that makes spinach look nutritionally weak. Orach, sometimes called mountain spinach, was the spinach of the ancient world, grown across Central Asia, Persia, and medieval Europe for over 2,000 years. Spinach eventually replaced it, not because it was better, but because spinach was easier to grow commercially and export. The comparison is not subtle. Orach contains significantly higher concentrations of minerals, including calcium, magnesium, and iron than modern spinach. It thrives in soil that is too salty or too alkaline for spinach to survive. It self-seeds aggressively, meaning once you plant it, your garden will always have it. And here is the detail that should make you angry. Orach comes in deep red and purple varieties that contain extraordinary levels of betalains, the same antioxidant compounds found in beetroot that researchers are actively studying for anti-inflammatory effects. A food that tastes better, grows easier, produces more nutrition, and practically plants itself. And it's been sitting in heirloom seed catalogs that most gardeners never visit.
Number 10. Good King Henry, the perennial vegetable that requires 0 replanting for 20 years. The name comes from 16th century Germany, where it was considered distinct from bad plants, poisonous wild plants. Hence, Good King Henry. It was a staple vegetable across England and Northern Europe until roughly 1850, when it fell out of fashion as exotic vegetables from colonized countries became fashionable. Good King Henry is a perennial. You plant it once in spring, it comes back every year for 2 decades. The leaves taste like mild spinach and can be harvested from early spring right through to the first frost. The flower shoots in spring can be eaten like asparagus. The seeds are edible. Almost every part of the plant is food. The reason it disappeared is almost embarrassingly trivial. It self-seeds enthusiastically, which makes it difficult to contain in commercial farming operations. But in a home garden, that enthusiastic self-seeding means you have food producing itself in corners of your garden that you barely tend.
Number 9. Scorzonera, the root that was once prescribed by European doctors as medicine. Scorzonera has been cultivated since at least the 16th century in Spain and Italy. Its name comes from the Catalan word for viper, because traditional herbalists used it as a treatment for snakebite. Whether that worked is debatable. What isn't debatable is its nutritional profile. Scorzonera contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that directly feeds beneficial gut bacteria. It was one of the first vegetables specifically recommended by medical practitioners in the 1600s for digestive complaints. Studies published in the last decade have confirmed that inulin-rich foods like Scorzonera have measurable effects on gut microbiome diversity. It grows as a long black-skinned root, sometimes called black salsify, with a flavor that tastes like a cross between artichoke and coconut, something completely unlike any other vegetable you've tried. It tolerates poor soil, needs almost no care once established, and in mild climates can be left in the ground all winter and harvested as needed.
Number 8. Sea kale. The plant that grows on coastal cliffs, asks for nothing, and produces food that people paid fortunes for in Victorian England. Sea kale grows wild on the pebble beaches and cliffs of coastal Britain, surviving conditions that would destroy almost every cultivated vegetable. Salt spray, thin rocky soil, constant wind. It doesn't care. In the 1700s and 1800s, forcing sea kale in darkness to produce blanched white shoots became a luxury food practice among wealthy English households. Those pale, forced shoots, tender and nutty in flavor, were considered a delicacy worth significant money. The reason it disappeared from mainstream gardening is that it takes 2 years from seed before it produces harvestable shoots. In a commercial context, that's too slow. In a home garden, you plant it once, wait 2 years, and then harvest from the same plant every spring for 20 years. The leaf stalks are edible like chard, the flower buds are edible like broccoli, the roots can be used like horseradish. It is, by almost any measurement, one of the most productive perennial food plants available to a home gardener, and almost nobody grows it.
Number 7. Amaranth, the sacred grain the Spanish conquistadors tried to erase from existence. When Hernán Cortés arrived in Mexico in 1519, amaranth was the third most important crop in the Aztec Empire, behind only corn and beans. The Aztecs harvested hundreds of thousands of tons of it annually. It fed armies. It was used in religious ceremonies. It was currency. Cortés banned it. Growing amaranth became punishable by death. Fields were burned. Seed stocks were destroyed. The Spanish crown understood that if you control a people's food, you control the people. Amaranth was nearly erased from the earth deliberately. It survived in remote highland villages in Mexico, Peru, and India, and what those villages preserved is extraordinary. Researchers at Penn State University published findings showing that amaranth grain contains a complete amino acid profile, meaning it supplies every essential protein building block the human body requires. Per square foot of growing space, amaranth produces more usable protein than any other plant that can be grown in a temperate garden. The 2015 study showed yields of nutritional content per square foot that were roughly 3 times higher than common vegetables. It also produces edible leaves continuously through summer, grows in drought, self-seeds into the following year, and reaches full harvest in 90 days from planting. The Aztecs didn't build one of the most advanced civilizations in human history on this plant by accident.
Number 6. Mashua, the Andean root that the Inca Empire grew above 12,000 feet elevation and modern agriculture has completely ignored. Mashua, also called añu, grows in the Andes of Peru and Bolivia at altitudes where almost nothing else produces food.
The Inca cultivated it alongside potato and quinoa as a core food crop capable of surviving the extreme cold and thin air of high-altitude farming. Spanish colonizers found it uninteresting compared to potato and largely overlooked it. That was a significant mistake nutritionally. Mashua contains extremely high concentrations of glucosinolates, the same class of compounds found in broccoli and kale that researchers have linked to cancer protective effects in dozens of studies. It also contains isothiocyanates that have documented antimicrobial properties. In the home garden, Mashua grows like a nasturtium, which it's related to. The leaves and flowers are edible. The tubers are harvested in autumn. It grows vigorously in poor soil and cool climates that struggle with most other root vegetables, and it is essentially unknown outside of specialist seed companies serving Andean food enthusiasts.
Number 5. The Egyptian walking onion, the perennial onion that plants itself. The Egyptian walking onion doesn't produce seeds in the conventional sense. Instead, it produces small bulblets at the top of its stalks. Those bulblets grow heavy enough to bend the stalk to the ground. They root where they land. The plant walks across your garden, spreading itself year after year without any help from you. Plant one Egyptian walking onion this spring. In 3 years, you will have a spreading patch of perennial onions that harvests itself. The underground bulbs taste like a sharp, intense onion. The green tops are usable year-round wherever the ground doesn't freeze solid. This plant was grown across the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and Asia for thousands of years as a reliable, permanent food source. It asks for nothing. It never needs replanting. It doesn't die. It just walks.
Number 4, Bladder Campion, the wild green that grows in the worst soil you own and tastes better than anything you can buy. Bladder Campion grows wild across Europe, the Middle East, and parts of North America. In Sicily and other parts of southern Italy, it's still gathered wild and cooked as a spring green, a tradition going back to ancient Rome. The young shoots, harvested in early spring, have a flavor unlike any cultivated vegetable. Slightly sweet, slightly vegetal, with a depth of flavor that people who try it for the first time find genuinely surprising. It is not well known because it cannot be standardized, packaged, or shipped. It bruises easily. It wilts quickly. It grows in gravelly, poor, compacted soil that would produce nothing edible from a conventional vegetable garden. It self-seeds. It requires no fertilizer. It comes back every year stronger. A plant that thrives on neglect and produces food in the dead zones of your property is not a weed. It is an asset. Number 3, Lovage, the plant that replaces celery, gives you medicine, and lives for 20 years. Lovage was grown in every European monastery garden from roughly the 8th century onwards. Medieval herbalists prescribed it for digestive complaints, kidney problems, and respiratory conditions. It was considered so valuable that monastery records show it being traded like a commodity between religious houses. Modern chemistry has confirmed that lovage contains compounds including phthalides, the same class of compounds in celery, but in concentrations roughly 10 times higher. Research has documented genuine anti-inflammatory, diuretic, and digestive effects. In the kitchen, every part is usable. The leaves taste like intense celery and can replace it in any recipe. The stems are edible like celery. The seeds are a spice. The roots can be used as a vegetable. Plant one lovage at the back of your garden in full sun. Give it space, it reaches 6 feet tall. Come back every spring for the next 2 decades and harvest what you need. It will never ask for anything in return.
Number 2, ground cherry, the fruit that grows like a weed, produces for months, and tastes like something between a pineapple and a vanilla tomato. Ground cherry, Physalis pruinosa, is related to the tomatillo. It produces small golden fruits inside papery husks that fall from the plant when ripe. You harvest by walking through the garden and picking up what's on the ground. It self-seeds so aggressively that in most climates you plant it once and it reappears every year from dropped fruit. A single plant produces hundreds of fruits from midsummer through first frost. The flavor stops people. It is sweet, tropical, and complex, completely unlike any other vegetable garden fruit. People who taste it for the first time at farmers markets pay premium prices for it and can never find it at supermarkets. There's a reason it's not at supermarkets. The papery husk makes automated harvesting almost impossible. That's the only reason this extraordinary fruit isn't everywhere, and it's the reason you can grow something in your garden that genuinely cannot be bought. Number 1. Moringa, the tree the United Nations calls the most nutritious plant on Earth, and that grows faster than almost anything alive. Moringa oleifera grows in tropical and subtropical climates and is one of the fastest growing trees in existence. Under the right conditions, it can grow 15 feet in its first year. It's been documented growing 3 inches in a single day. But speed isn't why it's number 1 on this list. Moringa leaves contain gram for gram 7 times more vitamin C than oranges, 4 times more calcium than milk, 4 times more vitamin A than carrots, 3 times more potassium than bananas, and a complete amino acid profile, meaning it supplies every essential protein building block, something almost no other plant food achieves alone. In regions of Africa and Asia where malnutrition is acute, moringa is used by NGOs and medical organizations as an intervention food, given to malnourished children because it delivers concentrated nutrition from a single plant. The United Nations World Food Program has explicitly identified it as one of the most important plants for addressing global food insecurity. Every part is edible. The leaves dried into powder, the seed pods eaten like green beans, the seeds pressed into oil, the roots used medicinally, the seeds used to purify water. Moringa seed powder has documented ability to flocculate and settle suspended particles from turbid water, a technique used in developing countries with limited access to clean water infrastructure. In climates that freeze, moringa can be grown as an annual or kept as a container plant brought inside over winter. In frost-free zones, it becomes a permanent food tree that produces year-round. This plant has been feeding people for 5,000 years. Traditional medicine systems across India, Africa, and Southeast Asia documented its properties long before modern nutritional science gave us the tools to confirm them. Modern science confirmed everything. Before you go, here is the one thing that will make every plant on this list perform dramatically better, and almost nobody talks about it. Stop planting in rows. Every plant on this list evolved in ecosystems where plants grew in communities. Different root depths, different nutrient needs, different heights, all supporting each other. Planting in monoculture rows is a modern agricultural practice designed for machinery, not for plant health. Plant your forgotten perennials together. Cluster them in mixed beds. Let them self-seed and move. The result is a garden that functions like an ecosystem, self-feeding, self-repairing, and increasingly productive year after year without inputs. The ancestors who grew these plants didn't have fertilizer bags or pest control sprays. They had mixed plantings and patience, and they fed civilizations. That's 13 plants that history buried and that your garden desperately needs. These aren't exotic rarities. Every single one is available from heirloom seed companies right now. I've linked the sources I trust in the description. Drop a comment telling me which one you're planting first. I read every single one. If this changed how you see what a garden can actually be, hit that like button. It helps more people find this content. Subscribe if you haven't. Every week, we go deeper into what modern gardening forgot. Now, go plant something that will outlast you.